Your hands are shaking. Your vision narrows to a single point, and then, without thinking, without planning, without any decision at all, your body does something that should be physically impossible. A mother in Georgia, a teenager in Arizona, a retired mechanic in Oregon. 3 different people, 3 different decades, one identical event. They lifted a vehicle off a trapped human being with their bare hands. No equipment, no preparation, just raw biological explosion. The medical term is hysterical strength, and what happens inside the body during those seconds is one of the most violent, spectacular, and misunderstood events in all of human physiology. I'm Dr. James, and this is where we go deeper than the headline. Let's start at the beginning, because this story doesn't start in the muscles. It starts in a tiny almond-shaped structure buried inside your brain called the amygdala. The amygdala is your threat detector. It has been doing this job for hundreds of millions of years, long before humans existed, before language, before rational thought. This ancient piece of neural tissue was scanning the environment, asking one single question on a loop: is this going to kill me? Usually, the answer is no, and the signal stays quiet. But when the answer flips, when the amygdala gets a signal that is genuinely life or death, something extraordinary happens. It bypasses your prefrontal cortex completely. It skips the part of the brain that plans, that calculates, that hesitates. It goes straight to the engine room. Within milliseconds, not seconds, milliseconds, a nerve signal fires down the spinal cord and hits the adrenal glands, 2 small triangular organs sitting right on top of your kidneys like little orange hats. And those glands release adrenaline. Not a trickle, not a gentle increase, an absolute flood. Adrenaline, also called epinephrine, is a hormone and a neurotransmitter simultaneously. When it hits the bloodstream, it does everything at once. Heart rate doubles, blood vessels in your digestive system clamp shut, blood gets rerouted away from your gut, away from your skin, and driven forcibly into the muscles and the brain. Your pupils dilate so wide that colors actually shift. Glycogen stored in the liver gets broken down into glucose at a speed that almost never happens under normal conditions. Your muscles suddenly have more fuel than they've had in hours. And the pain receptors, the signals your body uses to tell you to stop, go quiet. Not reduced, quiet. This is not metaphor. In extreme adrenaline states, the pain threshold rises so dramatically that people have described completing actions, running, carrying, pulling, and only discovering serious injuries afterward. Broken bones, torn tendons, dislocated joints. They felt none of it in the moment. Now here is where the story gets genuinely shocking. Your muscles are stronger than your skeleton allows. Under normal circumstances, your nervous system applies something called the neural inhibitory governor. Think of it as a software limit on a high-performance engine. Your muscle fibers are capable of generating more force than your tendons, ligaments, and bones can safely handle, so your nervous system constantly, automatically, invisibly holds back roughly 60 to 80% of your theoretical maximum output. This is not weakness, this is self-preservation. If you could voluntarily fire every single motor unit in your quadriceps simultaneously, you would tear the tendon clean off the bone. That is not a metaphor either. That is the documented mechanism of certain sports injuries in elite athletes who briefly override the governor through extreme training. During hysterical strength, the flood of adrenaline and cortisol suppresses the inhibitory signal. The governor gets partially, or in rare cases, almost completely switched off. What remains is a body operating closer to its theoretical ceiling than it has ever operated before, and the results can be staggering. In the 1982 case of Angela Cavallo in Georgia, her teenage son was pinned under a 1964 Chevy Impala after the jack slipped. The car weighed approximately 4,000 pounds. She lifted the bumper. She held it long enough for two neighbors to drag her son out. When asked about it later, she said she had no memory of the weight. She just moved. The physics of that moment are extraordinary. A rough estimate suggests she generated a lifting force somewhere between 3 and 4 times her own body weight. For her frame, that translates to a force output no gym training regimen could reliably produce. Her muscles in those seconds were operating in a range she had never accessed before and would never access again. And here is what that costs. The muscular force generated during a hysterical strength event does not come free. Muscle fibers contract by sliding protein filaments, actin and myosin, past each other. Under extreme, sudden overload, those filaments don't just work hard, they break. Micro tears, the same kind that happen during any intense exercise, but occurring across entire muscle groups simultaneously instead of gradually. In some documented cases, the physical aftermath includes a condition called rhabdomyolysis, where damaged muscle tissue begins releasing a protein called myoglobin into the bloodstream. The kidneys have to filter it out. In severe cases, this can cause kidney stress. People who survive extreme adrenaline events sometimes notice dark-colored urine in the hours afterward. That is not a coincidence. The cortisol surge. Cortisol is the second major stress hormone released alongside adrenaline, keeps the system running even after the immediate threat has passed. This is why survivors of extreme events sometimes feel calm, almost detached for minutes or hours afterward. The hormonal environment in their bloodstream is still in emergency configuration. The crash comes later. There's a fascinating footnote to all of this. Elite-level trained athletes, Olympic weightlifters for example, spend years learning to recruit a higher percentage of their available motor units voluntarily. A well-trained athlete might fire 60 to 70% of their maximum theoretical output during a maximum competitive lift. This is considered exceptional. It takes years of deliberate neuromuscular training to get there. Hysterical strength can push that percentage significantly higher in a completely untrained individual in under 1 second. This tells you something remarkable about the gap between what humans can do and what humans normally do. The capacity is already there. The limit is the nervous system's caution, not the muscle's ability. The evolutionary logic is clean. You don't want people routinely accessing this zone. Tendons would snap, joints would shred. The cost-benefit only makes sense when the alternative is death. But when death is on the table, when the amygdala decides that this moment, right now, is the moment the locked door opens, your body has been carrying this hidden reserve your entire life. You have never needed it, and if you're lucky, you never will. But it is there, sitting quietly behind a biochemical lock, waiting. If you found this episode as mind-bending as I did, hit like and subscribe. We go this deep every single time.